guys, before you dive into this podcast, especially if you don't know me, I know this is a touchy topic. So make sure that you listen to what I'm actually saying before you jump to emotionally respond to not liking what I'm saying, because everything that I'm saying is in love. It's just an observation. And again, I'm not here to act like the know it all of anything. This is just my perspective and what I have seen. So I hope you enjoy. I would love to have some thoughtful dialogue and discourse in the comments. And drop a like, leave a comment, let me know what you think. So, Jasmine Crockett lost. Everybody's upset. And for me, this didn't hit and sting the same way Kamala's loss did, mainly because I expected it. And I want to break down why I expected it, why other people couldn't see it that same way. I want to bring in what Roland Martin brought to the conversation, his piece. If you haven't watched that, go check that out as well, and what this means for us moving forward. So before I begin, I want to just kind of let you know who I am, because I'm a new face to a lot of you guys. First of all, obviously, I'm a Black woman, and I am in a predominantly white community. I've lived in a red state. I live in Florida, Ron DeSantis state, where they could unalive me and my governor couldn't care less. I'm a former minister. I went to school for ministry. I was deep in the church, and I started deconstructing about 10 years ago when the church rejoiced at the election of Donald Trump. I'm also a current personal coach and, as you can tell, fitness trainer. And anyone who's ever worked with a personal coach knows that your personal trainer is so much more than your trainer. Want to hear how I coach women through their issues using personal training as a tool for ministry? You can check out my page here, Mind and Body Fitness. I'm also a business owner and someone who's considering running for office down the road. And I'm also a content creator. So I just wanted to let you guys know what perspective I'm coming from, so that it's not just some young girl who's just talking junk. Like, I'm almost 40 years old. My oldest son is 24. We just went through a racially motivated arrest and long drawn out situation due to profiling with my oldest son. So I kind of am talking from a place of I've lived it too. So hear me out. I also understand that the way that I talk and the way I present doesn't resonate or even represent the majority of Black people. And I'm not trying to be the voice for Black people. I'm just simply sharing what is on my heart. Similar to what Roland said, except it was the day after the election and it was hitting a little bit harder. And as someone that was in ministry, and as someone that is a coach, as someone that helps people facilitate and cultivate change in their life, I understand what is necessary for a person, people, a congregation, a group of people, a community to actually move forward towards change. So I just wanted to give my insight, and I appreciate you being here. While you're here, I would love to hear any comments and feedback that you have on the different topics that I'm going to address. So first thing, we've got 4 frames that we're going to address. First, I'm going to come to you from the aspect of a business owner and what we do when you have a sale or you have a promotion that you are running a campaign that doesn't go as expected. Next, I'm going to come at you as a coach, the way that I would have to talk to my clients when they have something that they want to reach and they don't yet understand what's in between them and where they want to be. I guess this would be the minister in me, would be the third one. We're going to come at the ego, and not the ego is not a bad thing. The ego is just how you view yourself, and it affects how you move in this world. And consequently, a lot of people are not aware of the role that it plays. So we're going to touch on that situation. We're also going to talk about how to strategically move forward from this rather than having an emotional outburst or almost a temper tantrum like response similar to the third party voters. And then last but not least, we'll have some honest self-reflection with ourselves, because if there's one thing that's evident throughout all the comments everywhere, whether it's people my age, younger and older, we're all like, we need to come together. And I want to share, again, my experience in all those different arenas with trying to come together, what I have experienced in doing so, and maybe some tips or just some ideas to throw out there, because we're all looking for leadership, and one way or another, it seems we're not getting it. And with that, I kind of want to jump off from the social media perspective, because even though content creators are not necessarily leaders, they are technically leaders. There are thousands, if not millions, of people following them. And one of the reasons why I have intentionally been strategic or slow in my growth is because I've seen some of the pitfalls of those who rise to social media fame quickly, or those who want to be the first to cover every story and haven't yet learned how to sit with things and process them before they just spew information onto the internet. Another aspect of this is the fact that if someone's never been an actual leader before, been in a position of management, leadership, supervisor, you may not fully understand the impact of your words. And you also may not understand how Well, yeah, the impact of your words have power. People are looking to you for answers. And if you're just saying stuff because you know that virality means anger, virality means outrage, you can't get on there and address nuance because most people have the attention span of a flea, which we help contribute to by only wanting to put out and consume viral content. But I digress. We, content creators, anyone with a voice and a platform, have a duty to be more responsible with our audience. FD Signifier made a whole 4 hour long video talking about Tyler Perry. He's a great example of leadership not being a good steward of their leadership. So even though I'm someone that's deconstructed and has left religion, I have so much value that I got from the church, so much value from leadership and just how to move in a way that you are still respecting the dignity of those that you are serving, ministering to, and working with. And again, a social media or content creator is not a minister. They're not a life coach or a therapist. They don't need to be whatever. But if we are going to get on here and be so angry about what happened, we at least owe it to our followers, to our audience to address those nuances, even the ones that are uncomfortable. So I watched Roland's video. I'm so glad I did. And I'm actually disappointed that I haven't been following him on YouTube for longer. I've only been following him on Instagram. And the majority of his take, I think it was about an hour and a half long, he looked at numbers, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I enjoyed watching his numbers because when I made a video on TikTok a few days prior to the election, I didn't have the exact numbers. In fact, I didn't even research anything. I'm just super intuitive because I left church and I know how to listen to my intuition. But no, I'm super intuitive, but also I have the experience. This is one of the reasons why Black women are so upset nobody listens to us. We have so many unique experiences. And anywho, we'll get to that in a minute. What he said was that it was a numbers and a strategy failure. It wasn't just the vibes failure, which is what people are saying. She didn't just lean on her name recognition, as people were saying, but she did lean heavily into big county strategies and didn't run up the margins. Hold on, let me make sure I got this right. That she needed to in Dallas and Harris County. So his position was that this was a numbers problem. It was a math problem. He did mention name recognition doesn't run races, execution does. And he's right. He's right. Like, and nobody on the panel up there could argue with him except to say he had some incomplete data in certain places and he needs to be more responsible with that. I think is what a second woman was saying before he kept cutting her off. He was super heated in that discussion. Then someone else on the show, the gentleman that was on the show, was like, "Hey, you about to get me canceled in the Black community, but hats off to you for saying this stuff because it needs to be said." So his commentary was. Oh, my phone got dark. His commentary was amazing from my perspective. But what I've noticed in the comments, and especially on these TikTok pages of content creators who are going viral just for being angry about it, and the Democratic Party is going to fail, and I hear them because, hello, like, I get it. But again, with the different lenses that I'm looking at this through, there's more to the story there than just they didn't choose a Black woman. And when I see in the comments, people are like, well, I'm just not going to vote next time. I was like, I hear you. I totally get it. But like, what's next? And I usually get crickets. So okay, so now that I've built some rapport, I'm gonna come at you like a coach, right? Like if you came to me with your issue, like, Coach, what's the next move? Actually, I'm coming at you from a business perspective. Bottom line, what's the next move? Now, Roland came to you guys with commentary, political statistics, and a lot of data. I'm gonna come to you with some insight, what I would do in that position, and just what I've experienced as someone in business. If I were to run a business or have a sale, run a campaign of some kind, let's say it didn't go well at all. Like I did not get a good return on investment, people weren't buying, whatever. Instead of taking to social media, and I think you all could agree, if we were to run to social media and start blaming anything, even if everything I say is true, it's not a good look to do that, right? And she didn't. Okay, I'm just saying, when things go wrong, we don't go to shout and point fingers at who did what wrong. The first step is accountability and looking in. We have this framework. Hold on, the road team's rolling past my house real quick. We'll take a little breather. Well, actually, I'll show you guys. Enjoy the view with me. These poor children. All right, back to the show. So, y'all gotta go. The crew team keeps distracting me and the people yelling at them in the microphones. Anywho, in a business, right? Sale doesn't go well. You don't start pointing fingers and blaming the buyer. You don't start saying all the buyers are broke. I used to do that when I first started training. And what I realized is it's like, no, all the buyers that you are talking to are broke. You need to go where people will buy what you're selling. But nonetheless, there's a framework that we use. It's called what's right, what's wrong, what's missing, and what's confused. What did we do right, right? Go team go, right? You got to have positive reinforcement. That's a coach in me talking. And then what are we doing wrong? This is where the education happens, because you don't know what you don't know. And I think that we all need to really sit with that for a moment. You don't know what you don't know. A lot of us are at home pointing fingers, yelling, talking this and this and that about politics, and some of us don't even realize that there is a difference between the state Senate and the US Senate. Some of us don't even realize how a bill gets made. And I'm not trying to shame you, but like a lot of us are angry about politics, and that's not even our area of expertise, meaning we don't know what we don't know. For my job, I always am dealing with people who come to me telling me how they think weight loss should happen. And I'm like, if you know how to do it, you wouldn't be paying me to help you. So please listen to me, because you don't know what's missing. Maybe there could have been something more. When I'm building my website and I go look at someone else's website, I'm like, oh, snap, they have a form for you to start right now. Or, oh, snap, they have this. And it's like, maybe there's something missing. And then the last one, what are we confused about? Because when you're not getting through to who you're trying to talk to, it's usually there is a messaging problem. Now, again, I'm not saying that any of this is Jasmine's fault or her campaign's fault. If you want to hear the breakdown of what her campaign got right, wrong, what they're missing and confused about, you can go check out Roland's thing. I'm just simply throwing this out here to the Black voters who are hurting, who are upset, who are mad, and especially the content creators who are making content from their emotion without first zooming out and then considering some of the things that were discussed on this breakdown. Bottom line, the most successful companies, organizations, entities, and dare I say campaigns do this list to make sure that they have all their ducks in a row. And so before we as a people start pointing fingers at James Talerico's party or the Democratic Party, which again, all of your reasons are valid, that's not going to help. Whether they're all wrong, whether they sabotage her campaign and future me again. And as I'm editing this video, there's a couple things that I didn't address, which was the frustration of the fact that the Democratic Party did not financially back Jasmine. And the first thing that comes to mind is they're not backing the Black woman. And I thought about Kamala. I'm like, she came in the race at the last minute and they moved heaven and earth to make sure that she got the money she needed. So if that is one of the arguments that we're going to bring up, that is something to consider. The other thing is she's not electable. Many people, that's a dog whistle for racism. And I want to be very careful with how I say this next part. Your life experience will shape your perspective, and that goes for all of us. That's not to discredit what you have seen and what you have experienced, but what I do know is that, and I said this on a TikTok, um, I was echoing Terrence Howard, how Denzel Washington was telling him, like, dude, you walk around with your fist like this, and whole while people are trying to producers are trying to put money in your hand, but you got your fist like this. And it's like, yes, we have to be protective for survival's sake, but also we also have to be open to new experiences. Um, and we also have to be open to critique, going back to perspective and Liz, through the perspective of business people. They're very cutthroat, bottom line, like there's no time for emotion. That's why they say women don't do well in business, because we're so emotion based. There's sometimes a business where it really is not about your feelings and how this makes you feel. This is the bottom line. Like if a client is late on their payment, I could, you could say, oh, I'm giving you a hard time, just like the system always does to Black women, or I need my money. Like that's part of the business. You agreed to pay this. Now, the way I do business is not so cutthroat like that, but I'm just giving you an example of how your perspective changes things. So when I hear someone say something like she's not electable, I think of the top model people and how cutthroat they are. Like they don't care if you have a great personality. Are you going to make the money on the runway? No, boom. And so when a party or people with the money are putting their money into something like it's an investment. It's literally an investment. And so what they're investing in is what they think is going to win. They don't have time for whether this sits well or it feels good. It's just what it is. And sometimes there is a tendency to not take things what they are because everything is racist here. Yes, I get that. And with that said, that's the whole energy I'm coming from, knowing that when we went into this race, that is something to consider. Is this someone that we can get the entire state behind, not just their fan base? Okay, I'm gonna let you go back to the podcast now. The GOP definitely sabotaged her political fight for Senate this round, Again, we sometimes, and this is what happens in weight loss, is clients will be so hyper focused on what they want that they can sometimes make choices that don't benefit them in the long run, like cutting carbohydrates or eating your calories way too low. That destroys your metabolism, and now it makes it harder for you to lose weight in the future. The most successful companies, organizations, movements align with what their market is trying to do. GOP definitely does it, at least strategy wise. And so that's something that we need to look into. What was missing, at least from Jasmine's party or even the Democratic, the left, whatever, we never had an ecosystem. We never had a true aligned ecosystem for support. The left had podcasts galore, they had content creators galore. We're so busy infighting, which I'll get to that in a little bit. Step. Now I get to put on my coach hat for real. Oh, and it's Tuesday, Tough Love Tuesday. The video that I made on TikTok that a lot of people did not understand when I said, we want Jasmine, but they need James, that was coming from not only the former minister in me understanding that the majority, a lot of Americans identify as Christian, and he's a Christian man getting up there condemning Trump. They haven't had that really very loud and with as much momentum. So when I said they needed him, like they needed something, when people are changing as a coach, I can't take a client from 0 to 100, no matter what their goal is. Their body will go into shock. Their body will respond well. They won't recover well. Like there's just so many moving parts as to why I have to take slow, gradual steps to reduce someone's calories or to increase their calories or to increase the weight. There's a levels to this. It's a process. And so the first thing that I thought about was the demographics of the state. And I'm like, and I did look that up, and I was like, it is a lot of whites and a lot of Hispanics. And granted, Jasmine has a lot of support online. She has a lot of support online from people all over, but those people all over aren't voting in Texas. The truth is, as someone said in the comments, like, it's still Texas. And that's something that I have to consider. The truth is, I want to run for office here because this is the like, if if New York can do it, I believe in America. I believe that we can take back this country, not for the Democratic Party, but for the people. Okay, um, I am well aware that anyone, even my own neighbors, don't like me because of the content that I put out, because I talk about topics that rub them the wrong way or expose things that they're not ready to talk about. And I live in a predominantly white county, state area. So if I were to run, I would need to take into consideration how I'm perceived by the church. I deconstruct religion. I'm going to lose the church vote. I talk. I'm a feminist. I'm talking about what it was like to be an SA survivor. I'm already got some men mad at that. Oh, not all men, right? There's so many reasons why I would probably not win in my district. So I could either run and then get mad that I didn't win, knowing that the demographic is not on my side and that there's nothing I could do within 6 months to get them to change their mind. Or I could do what Crazy Pants Valentina Gomez did, and after she lost in Missouri, she ran to Texas, and thank God they banned her from running because she's insane. But my point is, there is a level of zooming out and kind of looking at the picture as a whole, and it's something that I notice people when they come to me as a client, they don't know how to do. They're like, well, I have this goal. And again, I'm not saying Jasmine is just doesn't know what she's doing. I'm using analogies to help you guys understand because you guys do it every day. If you've ever tried to hire a trainer for weight loss or a good trainer who knows not to just drop your calories right away or tell you to just eat 1,200 calories and whatever, like it's a process, and once again, you don't know what you don't know. The truth of the matter is the people whose vote she needed had no incentive to vote for her. The people whose vote she needed to win. Now, something that Roland said is no, if she had just, a lot of people are saying if she had gotten more black votes, she would have won. And that's probably true. But then she would still have to go against the white establishment Republican. That's who she'd be going up against. And a lot of us, from when I looked at what the race was boiling down to, I zoomed out and I was like, who has a better chance of beating him? That's not me saying that Jasmine can't win, but just as, again, the demographics, because she would have to have captured all of the black vote in order to do that. And then even moving forward, she would still have to get, you see what I'm saying? So it wasn't about that she didn't deserve it. It wasn't that she didn't work hard. It was the landscape. And again, like the business thing, it's the market. But when you have a goal that you're trying to reach, you have to know your market. You have to do your homework, or else there's going to be a gap that you're not understanding why it's not working. And I don't doubt that she doesn't understand why it's not working. From what I understand, someone on her team told her she had a good chance at winning. So, and while we're talking about chances of winning and people relocating to try to win, GOP plays the long game. They play the long game. Again, something that clients in weight loss do not want to do, and that's why they fail. And they keep trying. Oh my gosh, clients in weight loss are an analogy for the Democratic Party because we keep trying the same. They keep trying the same thing over and over again, and it gets them a little bit of progress. So they're like, "Yay!" But it doesn't last. We have to be strategic, not tactical. Tactical is like, ooh, if I make this post and I say this, then this is going to get a lot of followers. And then, ooh, boom, boom, boom. And that's something quick. That's quick. Tactical is, oh, I want to lose 5 pounds. So I'm going to stop eating carbs so that my body stops retaining, or, carbs hold water. So I'll lose some water weight over this week. That's not a strategy for weight loss. That is a tactic for weight loss. And in the same sense, we need to develop a long-term strategy, not just little tactics like, oh, well, she could win this race. Let's put her in there. Like that wasn't zooming out from the long term. Again, considering who she has to run against, in my opinion, that wasn't the best strategy. The GOP has been planning their hostile takeover since Obama got in office. They have never let that go. They have made sure they have been putting things in place since then to make sure that that would never happen again. Planning for 10 years. And what have we been doing? And I don't just mean we black people, I mean like the left in general. We've been riding on the high. We had our first black president. We've been riding on our high. We had Kamala as a vice president. And I know some people are too busy to pay attention to politics, but some people, self included, got comfortable and thought that we had won the race, we had won the battle, so we could sit down. So when people like Deontay Kyle get on here and say it's not time to rest, and everybody's like, no, yes, it is, it's both. It is time for us to maybe rest at trying to use politics as the primary force in moving us forward, because similar to weight loss, everything comes back to weight loss. Similar to weight loss, if you don't have everything, like if your mind isn't in it and your soul isn't in it, I know that sounds really lame, but if your mind is not committed to the soul journey and transformation that needs to happen so that you can make the new habits and become a new person and whatnot, you're just gonna it's gonna get this it's gonna be the same thing. Building community, building infrastructure, and building like a good foundation for moving forward. um, from my perspective on Netflix, I went back and I watched a lot of the TV that was going on or around COVID during Joe Biden's campaign, during when DEI was at its height. And what I noticed was that a lot of the content, like if it had black people on it, if it had us on there, it was like a punch back for all the years that we didn't have roles where we could be ourselves or be natural. So it did put white people down a lot. I I get it, but that's what they've been watching. That's why they're so angry. That's why it's been brewing beneath the surface. They feel like they've been mocked. And again, this is not, I'm not siding with them. I'm just letting you know what's happening. And a side note, I'm sharing my opinion as someone that grew up in predominantly white spaces. I know how they think. I watch this all from the lens of someone that knows what they're thinking and how they're thinking this. So when Mike Johnson was like, "Oh, I'm so happy she's running," he meant it because he knew that this would happen. He knew that it was going to be at the end of the day between her or him. And these are facts that we have to face. And just like in fitness, sometimes there are facts that people don't want to face. And if you don't face those facts, there it is. If you don't face those facts, they will fail you. In business, if you don't fix your flaws, they will fail you. In fitness, if you don't fix your character flaws, procrastinating or not wanting to look at numbers or not whatever, like it will fail you. And again, I'm not putting blame on Jasmine. This is new thought patterns that I want to relinquish upon people, because the thought patterns I'm seeing in the comments are not productive, and it's probably why we've stayed stuck. Like a lot of my clients, the thought processes and the belief systems that they have are not productive. They don't move forward, and that's why they're stuck. Similarly to my clients that react emotionally, like, oh, the scale didn't go down, so fuck it, I'm just going to eat my way through the weekend. I'm like, okay, so after that emotion of being frustrated is gone, where will that put you? In the comments, I'm seeing people that are like, "Oh, I'm not gonna vote. I'm not gonna vote." So I asked one lady, I was like, "Okay, so what's next? If you guys don't vote in Texas, then," she's like, "Well, then what? We gonna have another what did she say? Oh, two Republicans. It's nothing different." And I'm like, she's right. There's nothing different. However, didn't we just watch the third party voters throw a tantrum because nobody wanted to listen to them, and instead of trying to build a bridge and talk and build community and have these tough conversations that we are now having to have after the fact, because they didn't want to do that. Again, your flaws will fail you. Because they didn't do that, that campaign for third party voting and free Palestine unfortunately did not work, and instead it put all of not only America, black people in America, Hispanic people in America, women in America, the entire world at jeopardy, because we now have a toddler with the nuclear codes. Side note, this is like my fifth time restarting this. My phone keeps dying, getting too hot, whatever. When it comes to strategy, and this is strategy specifically for the Black community, what I've noticed or what I've experienced, one of the things that's so hard about strategy is that you have to be in alignment. That's why the church is so strict about religion and everybody believing the same thing, because in order to make a movement happen, you have to be on the same page. And you don't have to believe all the same things, but you kind of have to be able to get along. And one of the things that I've noticed in our community, it's part of the culture to talk shit, make fun of each other, especially like with men. Like that's just something men do. But also the knee-jerk response to put each other down by our hair, by our clothes, what we wear. It's really hard to build community with people when they're like, "Oh, you talk white," or "Oh, we don't like your hair. You should have nicer hair," or like we oh my goodness, we will, and then the left as a whole, the people are not perfect and check every box that they don't even really have specified yet, then they're no good. They're no good. They just throw everybody out. You're no good to us if you're not 100% just like us. And I'm like, isn't that the kind of stuff that most of us left the church for? But I digress. Going back to the temper tantrum, third party harmed all of us because they didn't get their way. So they said, well, this is what we're going to do. And so I'm like, oh, cool. What was, did you guys have the next step beside we're going to teach everyone what happens when you don't listen to us? Like, was that the plan? How do you feel? Like, how do they feel now? And I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole because that's rage baiting. But the truth is, when I see people in the comments saying they're going to withhold their vote, if they're an elder Black person, I 1000% understand their frustration. But if you are someone that is just simply not really into politics, don't understand how this works, and you're giving up, again, this is like my weight loss clients who don't understand how weight loss and metabolism and muscle mass and the fact that they're actually not in a deficit, or like people that if you don't understand something, of course you're going to give up because you're frustrated. You don't know what you did wrong, which it goes back to the beginning of right, wrong, missing, and confused. It's an emotional response. And just like my clients regret their choice to binge eat because they were mad, there's actual content creators out there that are telling everyone you're going to regret your vote for Tallarico, don't do it. And I just wonder, had he not been running against Jasmine, would y'all be saying the same things? Because if the answer is no, then what you're doing right now is throwing a temper tantrum. You're going to teach the state of Texas a lesson. I'm going to teach the whole United States a lesson because we're all going to have to pay for that. Because now what do you have? What power? Actually, I don't like that because we have so much power outside of politics. We just aren't coming together to use it, which is where I was going before I got sidetracked. There are women who will get online, and the coach in me sometimes just, I'll be coaching people. I have no business doing it, but I'll provide insight in the comments, and then they bite back and they're like, like, what did this girl say? She's like, you're a fake trainer. And I'm like, I'm a very real trainer. I like train. What are you talking about? Like, I'm opening a gym soon. Like, are you okay? Or she'll say something like, well, your wig is washed. And I actually made a whole video on this about how we don't understand everybody's issues and we all have different issues. In church, we would say, don't judge people that sin different from you. But what I say is, don't judge people at all who have different struggles than you, because I may not have the best wigs all the time, mainly because I work in the gym and I live in Florida and I'm sweating all the time, and I just don't see the point in investing in something that's going to be sweaty and messy half the time anyways. And also, I don't know how to do my hair, so just being truthful. But the point is, you could judge me for all of that, and I could, but I won't judge you for not knowing how to eat like an adult, for not knowing that not drinking water is making you retain fluid, and that's why you feel bloated. Like, I could judge people for not having their shit together left and right. And what's funny is everyone says the fitness space, like, we're so judgy, and I'm like, I'm not. People are judgy of me. But that was a whole side note about my issues, but it was one story, but it's a common thing. Whenever I'm online and I'm talking and I'm saying something that the Black community doesn't like, I once said something when Amanda Seales was saying, when she was covering the shoes, they were making Trump shoes. And I remember looking at that and I'm like, I'm not offended by that because I'm not like, who does it, like, they think that ignorant people want this shit. Well, I'm not an ignorant person, so I'm not going to buy that shit. Any sneakerhead, I don't know anyone that would buy that shit. So when the Black community was getting so up in arms, and not the Black community, when people in Amanda Seales' comments, which was majority Black, getting mad that I said I wasn't offended by the shoes without addressing the nuance or understanding where I come from. The first thing they all did was run to my page, make fun of my face, say I'm goofy looking and I'm stupid. And just they couldn't. First of all, I'm beautiful. I know I'm beautiful. So when y'all start making comments saying I'm goofy, you're projecting, and it's so loud. When you start making any kind of comments about someone's physical appearance as opposed to actually engaging with what they said, one, you're showing everybody your lack of emotional regulation because you're just firing back. Two, you're also showing your lack of intelligence because you don't have anything to say back to them. And maybe it's not a lack of intelligence, maybe it's just a lack of content or education or words in general. But regardless, it is a beautiful thing to just fall back. You don't always have to respond to everything. And that's a lesson for all of us, whether you're a content creator, whether you're somebody commenting. If you don't fully understand the situation, you don't always have to give your 2 cents, especially because what is somebody going to do with 2 cents? Last but not least, on how all of this has been a mirror. And I wanted it to be a closing thing, but I've kind of been doing the mirror piece the whole time. We talk about, Roland and them talked about the money, like, okay, we need to abandon the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party is who put all their money into James's campaign, which is, again, a temper tantrum response. But he was like, no, we need to be investing in our radio stations, our TV shows, and in other conversations that Deontay Kyle was having, he was saying, like, outside of politics, how can we be investing in each other? And this has been a long-standing issue for a long time. I'm saying long time. I've only been a business owner 6 years, but the point is, like, I'm gonna give you guys an example. A woman reached out to me and she was looking for services. So I gave her the initial free consultation. She told me her goals and her budget. And I know the work that I do. It is holistic in nature. I'm not just a trainer. I'm not just a health coach. I'm not just a nutritionist. I'm also a former pastor. I'm a mother, and I'm someone who understands the weight loss journey themselves. So with me, you're getting more than one of those trainers you'll get at the gym at Crunch who got certified last weekend. So knowing her budget and knowing what I offer, I was like, let me create something for you. And then I brought her back my offer, my proposal, which wasn't too far off from her budget. And she basically told me that she doesn't think my skills match my pricing, and asked me basically to prove myself. Like, why should I choose you over Crunch Fitness or Aloy Fitness or all of these corporate brands? So when this Jasmine race happened, I know firsthand what it means for people to compare you to big juggernaut organizations. Like, how are you going to compare me to them? We have to start supporting each other so that we're not the little guy to the big guys. I mean, and that's going to take a while. That's going to take strategy. That's going to take not putting each other down, because not for nothing, everything that Jasmine's going through in her campaign, I can relate to in my business. Women don't get funding. When it comes to venture capital, giving you capital to start your business, less than 2% goes to women, less than 1% goes to Black women. I know what it's like to go against the man. I've been trying to get funding for my gym now for the past year and a half. The Trump administration and the big, beautiful, ugly ass bill was definitely a big setback. So I completely get it. That's why I'm trying to create a safe space and a gym for women that look like us. And you would think that there would be more support for something that is geared towards us and the trauma responses that we have in our bodies that cause us to hold on to stress, and knowing all these things, but we're not. We're looking for quick fixes. We want to get snatched. We want to get all these things. We're not actively seeking each other out to support our businesses. And that's a harsh truth. We want every, like, a lot of the comments talk about, okay, it's time for change, it's time for change. Well, what are you changing? Again, people, when they're trying to lose weight loss, they start focusing on all the wrong things, and it's like, you got to start with it. And if you have a problem with working with me because of the way that I talk, then how are we ever going to come together as a community? And if affluent Black folks have a problem with coalitioning with those that grew up in inner cities or urban neighborhoods, how are we ever going to come together? And if, when we're talking to each other, we don't know how to respond back to the actual content, and instead start picking on each other's hair, weight, intelligence, teeth, and think it's cute and funny for clicks and views, the rest of the world is laughing at us and seeing how we talk to each other. So I'm sure I forgot a few things, but that was what my perspective of this campaign looked like and what it is showing us. And as for what we can do moving forward, one, stop relying on politicians as saviors. A lot of us came from church, so it's ingrained in us that we need a leader, or we need a strong political figure to bring the solution to our problems. But Much like people look for Ozempic or something outside of them for what's going to fix the issue within, it's really a structural, strategic, and introspective issue. When you do introspection, you see who you are, what you're working with. So as a community, we can do some introspection, who we are as a whole, who we're working with. Okay, I'll actually finish with this. Another TikTok I made was about the boycott and how the very next day after the boycott, they were on TikTok blaming each other, blaming the black community, blaming young millennial blacks. And I'm like, millennial queer black woman here who knows that we weren't accepted as queers in our families, and in the church, and that's who's doing a lot of the organizations is the elders. So, if you want all of us on board with you guys when you do these things, then maybe we should create more of a communal vibe. I say vibe, I'm thinking of my gym. We should create more of a welcoming environment. So I know I started off a little more professional and ended drinking these, but guys, I'm in Florida. It is hot as three hells. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I'm going to do as many episodes out here as I can before Florida's done preheating for the summer. If this is your first time here, make sure that you like and subscribe. Leave your comments. I would love to hear how you guys felt about this situation. And if you are a community organizer, somebody looking to run for office, or someone that just has some good insight, I would love to connect with you. Make sure that we get connected on here. And I will see you guys next time on the Siobhan Speaks Social podcast.